Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, and we have a video for you today because there is breaking news. The Las Vegas Raiders have traded away wide receiver Bryan Edwards. Coming up here on the show, we're going to show you the full trade details. I'm going to tell you why I personally think that this deal happened, and if you've watched the Raiders Report for a few weeks, and if you're a local supporter, you kind of know that this might have been coming because I've talked about it. So let's go ahead here. Let's look at the trade details, and I apologize ahead of time to everyone. I was literally doing a jog when the news broke, and I ran to the studio. So if I look disgusting, it's all good. So here's the trade that ended up going down. The Las Vegas Raiders get a 2023 fifth-round pick. The Atlanta Falcons get Bryan Edwards and then a seventh-round pick as well. This is pretty interesting considering the fact that Edwards was drafted in the third round of the 2020 draft, which, if you want to talk about disastrous drafts, we'll talk about the players that were drafted that year. But what I want to know from all y'all is go down in the comments section and let me know who won the trade. If you believe the Las Vegas Raiders won the deal for Bryan Edwards, then... or if you believe the Las Vegas Raiders won this deal, type LV. If you think the Atlanta Falcons won the trade, I want you to go ahead and type ATL. I'm going to go ahead and say that I think the Falcons actually more than likely won this deal considering the fact that Edwards was ready to enter year 3, and I consider year 3 the breakout year for receivers. Did Edwards take a step back next season or last season? Yes, he did. Did the Raiders go out and add other players? Yes. However, I do think that Edwards was worth more than what he was given here in this entire deal. Because when you look at the numbers last season, it wasn't all that great. However, the first 4 weeks of the season, he had over 200 receiving yards. The Raiders were the only team in NFL history to have 4 players with over 200 receiving yards through the first 3 weeks. Why? Edwards was able to create a little bit of separation because there wasn't all that much attention on him because Henry Ruggs was able to take the top off of defenses. However, once Henry Ruggs was no longer with the team and then defenses started to put more concentration on BE, he struggled, and he struggled creating separation. Now, sure, 571 yards, 3 touchdowns, not so bad for a sophomore, but considering the fact that there were some people out there that believed that he had round 1 talent, just couldn't 100% stay healthy, this is kind of a little bit of a punch in the gut, if you will, I would say, for the silver and black. However, if Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler didn't think that he was ever going to be a impactful player in this offense, then sometimes you just got to cut your ties. You got to move on, and this regime didn't owe Bryan Edwards anything. So if you guys want to just make sure that you're stayed up to date with literally everything going on around the silver and black, hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications. I don't take any days off. Hell, today was my day off, and I was playing at some stuff. Like I said, it was on a little bit of a jog. Got the source. Somebody told me, hey, the Raiders are trading Edwards. I started running into the office. Shout out to all of my awesome team members here for making a video for me. But if you're a diehard fan and if you want to stay up to date, if you have the commitment to excellence that Al Davis loved in this fan base, then hit that subscribe button. The link is below. I promise you, you will not miss a thing. The other reason why it's always important, I think, to subscribe to the show is because I believe that our show is very good at being able to read the tea leaves. And this is a quote that I put on the show, I'm going to say 6 weeks ago, maybe 2 months at this point, and it's from Raiders' new offensive coordinator, Mick Lombardi, on traits to have in an outside wide receiver. And when I saw this quote, I was like, oh man, they might be putting Bryan Edwards on notice here a little bit without actually adding him. So here's what it says. The first thing we talk about in terms of receiver play is winning at the line of scrimmage, right? If you can't win at the line of scrimmage as a receiver, you're going to have a tough time. And DBs are so good now, and teams play such a variety of different coverages and different techniques, and they try to disguise. How can you release into the defense? And when I go back and I look at a lot of the film by Edwards, he just wasn't able to win at the line. He's not that good of a route runner. He is an athletic specimen. He absolutely is that. He's great at being able to go up and high point the ball. But in Josh McDaniels' offense and in a receiver that I believe works the best with DC is somebody who can run clean routes, who knows his assignments, who can find the open holes, hence why Hunter Renfrow has always been such a great success with DC. And that's just not the type of receiver that Bryan Edwards is. So the fact that you've seen a few other old Raiders players, Casey Hayward, Nick Wachowski, they're going on over now to the Atlanta Falcons, but he also played college football at South Carolina, so maybe there's some extra ties there. So after seeing this trade go down, okay, what was your one-word reaction? And I love when I tweeted it out because I do think it's funny the amount of people that still think that we just tweet out random shit here at the Raiders Report and Chat Sports. But your one-word reaction, I saw a lot of people being like, this is fake. Nobody's put it out there yet. This might surprise you. We got the schedule out an hour before the Raiders. We also got some sources here, too, at the Raiders Report. So, seriously, give me that one-word reaction to the Raiders trading Bryan Edwards. Now, if you want even more exclusive videos, then go ahead and scan this QR code right here because I'll say this, my local supporters kind of knew that this was going to happen, so this is the video that I put out bright and early this morning on Friday. This was the thumbnail to it. The Raiders have put Bryan Edwards on notice, and it was essentially talking about all the moves that the Silver and Black have made this offseason, which we will get to in a sec. But if you want to be able to stay up to date, and if you want to have more cleaner, more, I guess, intimate, that's kind of a weird way to say it, but it's true, more intimate access to me where we can have these dialects, where we can talk about some of the stuff going down. I appreciate all the people that always go down in the comments and give me your thoughts. But this is a big YouTube channel. We got over 114,000 subs. On locals, it's a little bit more exclusive. So if you want to join, and if you, well, you could have said, well, I knew this was coming. RaidersReport.locals.com. So the updated wide receiver depth chart as it stands right now, I have Davante Adams as your wide receiver 1. I know Robinson and Keelan Cole are labeled as your 2 and 3, but that's just for a graphic sake because Hunter Renfrow's technically you're going to be your second target as a wide receiver. He's going to end up in the slot. The 3 players, though, that I'm really going to sit here and try to point my finger at and tell you why I think the deal went down first is DeMarcus Robinson. He was signed this offseason, 6'1", 203-pounder, good outside receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs last year, and he was probably their 4th, maybe 5th target, probably their 3rd best wide receiver behind McCole Hardman, behind Tyreek Hill, and of course I'm going to throw in Travis Kelce in there even though he's not technically a wide receiver. But he had 25 grabs, 264 yards, 3 touchdowns. Long strider, not so much of a burner, ran a 4.59 40 at the combine a few years ago, but he does at least give you that extra ability to just be a reliable target. And then the move that happened just a few days ago, the Raiders went ahead and they signed Keelan Cole, and I've always been a big fan of Cole. Hell, when he was a rookie, this dude had 749 receiving yards, 48 catches, was able to stretch the field. He averaged 18.7 yards per catch. Then just 2 years ago, had another pretty solid field from top to bottom, and I am just getting word that he signed a 1-year deal worth $1.2675 million. So that's the official contract. We knew it ended up happening, but the official details now 1 year, $1.2675 million, which is including a $150,000 signing bonus. That's pretty interesting. So that figure literally just came out here around Keelan Cole. And the other thing I'll say about this, Cole finally gets an opportunity to have a decent quarterback. The Jags have never had a good quarterback. Zach Wilson stinks as well. So he finally gets DC. And then on top of all of that, you have a pretty interesting scenario here with Mack Hollins. And one of the traits that I loved about Edwards was his ability in the red zone to be able to go up and get the football. Mack Hollins is 6'4", 220 pounds, and he's a lot longer. He's a lot lankier than Edwards. So if you looked at the Raiders wide receivers and they really only personally thought that BE was going to be able to be somebody in the red zone, Hollins could be that guy as well. 4 touchdowns, 14 grabs, 223 yards on the Miami Dolphins last year. So the Patriots, they got to see him a little bit more. So after going through those 3 names, because to me, those 3 names were essentially reading the tea leaves of putting Bryan Edwards on notice and showing him the door. The other reason why I said it was because you don't go out and make a trade for Davante Adams if you're 100% just positively sold on your wide receiver unit. So after seeing this wide receiver group, I want you to go down in the comments section right now and scale it for me from 1 to 10. A few days ago, I said that this unit is a solid 8. And losing Edwards hurts the depth. So for that reason, I'm going to give it a 7. Yes, you have the best receiver in football. Yes, you have arguably one of the best route runners and best slot receivers in Hunter Renfrow. But after that, I have some hope that those guys can be good, but there are some question marks there. If I can put Darren Waller and Foster Moreau in this group, then I'm probably going to go ahead and give it a 9.5. All right, y'all, I appreciate every single person that comes across the Raiders report, and I'm hoping that the Silver and Black have a solid season. If you haven't already seen, I put out my record prediction video literally just a few hours ago, so please go ahead and check that out on the channel. If you haven't already, you can always follow me on IG and on Twitter as well. And I did want to bring up this interesting tidbit and a tweet that I put out that's getting quite a bit of traction right now, at Mitchell Renz 365. Remember when the Raiders brought in Mike Mayock, this, we'll call him draft guru, right? Well, not only did Mike and John Gruden totally butcher multiple draft classes like the 2019 draft, maybe minus Crosby and Hunter, go back and look at the 2020 draft. Here are the very first 5 picks in the 2020 NFL draft. At number 12, Henry Ruggs. At number 19, Damon Arnette. Then you had picks 80 and 81, Lynn Bowden Jr., Bryan Edwards, and then you traded up to number 100 for Tanner Muse. None of those players. You had 5 picks in the first 100 picks in the 2020 draft, and none of those players are on this team anymore. This speaks volumes, and this is really only just part of the tipping of the iceberg. I think that's kind of the expression of how bad of a regime and head coach John Gruden and Mike Mayock were. You pissed away multiple high draft picks, not only in that 2020 draft, but also in the 2019 draft. So if I hear anybody like talking about Gruden or Mayock, the fact that this Raiders team has been as good as what they have been, considering the fact of how bad Gruden and Mayock were, dude, it is laughable. And before I go, I wanted to read one more tweet here from good old, what's his name? Mike Mayock. And this is what Mike Mayock had to say about having about three picks in the third round, okay? 3 picks in the third round is just like stealing. If we're doing our jobs the right way, hopefully we have 3 starters. Lynn Bowden Jr., 0 snaps, traded before the season even started. Bryan Edwards after 2 years, 45 grabs, 764 yards, traded after 2 years. Tanner Muse, 0 snaps. They were a terrible, terrible regime, and I have all the confidence in the world. Even though the trade wasn't 100% what I wanted for Bryan Edwards, I would have liked a little bit more. But I am going to put my eggs in the basket. I'm going to put my belief in Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler to go ahead and do the right things. Now, we are getting ready to wrap up this video. We're going to put a bow on it one more time. The Las Vegas Raiders have gone ahead and they have traded away Bryan Edwards to the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons get Edwards in the 7th round pick. The Raiders get a 5th round pick. If you could, take a screenshot of this, tweet it out, because that's how I know that you made it to the very end of the video.